Okay, so this is basically what we're going to do this tutorial. We're going to add kind of a stage map or a stage sprite in the background. So we got this going on in the background, and I'd like to add some sounds that we don't currently have. So for the Hadoken, we'll add that sound. For all the punches and kicks that Ken currently has, we'll add those sounds. And then we also have the background music that plays with Guile's stage here. Now you may be wondering, why is it Guile's stage? Well, the answer is I could not find Chun-Li's stage. So maybe I'll look again, but eventually we'll need Guile's stage regardless of if I can find Chun-Li's stage. So this was going to have to be done anyways. So let's go ahead and look at the current changes. Now the things that we need to note here is for the background, the only things that we have going on are basically 3 different animations. So this animation right here, this animation that includes basically both of these dudes right here, and then this animation over here are the 3 that we're looking at. Okay, and so you already have this sprite sheet included in your files, and so yeah, so we'll get to this, and then we will look at playing the sounds that go with the punches and the kicks and so forth. Okay, so going straight to it, let's go ahead and so the first thing we want to do is do that the sprite sheet. And so for the sprite sheet, we're just going to come up here, and right up here we're just going to create a stage image. So we're just going to say let stage 1, and you know, we can change the name of it later on. So stage 1 equal a new image, and then this is going to be the source is going to be just stage 1 edit.png. Okay, and so now let's go ahead and we need a few counters, because there's going to be 3 different animations, and you know, it would look really well, I think I closed it out, but it would look really odd. Here, I'll just do this. If all of these guys' hands went up and this girl over here who has this, it looks like she has like a monster hand, like a monster arm and a monster hand. It's kind of freaky looking. But anyways, if all their animations happened in sync, it would look, you know, it would look kind of crazy. So we probably want to make these like asynchronous to each other. So this one happens in its own time, this one happens in its own time, and this one happens in its own time. So for that, we're going to need some frame counters and frames that are separate from each other. Okay, and so here we're going to come down here, and what we're going to do is we're just going to create 3 of these things. We're just going to say let background counter 1. Okay, so for the first counter, we're just going to set it equal to 0. Okay, so we have these 2 right here, variables that will keep track of one of the animations. And then this is going to be the one that's going to keep track of the second one. This one's going to be keeping track of the third. Okay, and then so that's that. And so what we want to do now is we want to create a function that's going to actually draw this background. Okay, so I'm just going to go down to the draw function, and right above it, we're just going to create a new function. And we're going to call it draw background. Okay, and so we have those three counters, and we're going to use them. So this first one is going to be background counter 1, and we're just going to increment that. And in fact, we can go ahead and increment all the background counters, but we might as well just do it separately, because basically this is just going to be a big copy and paste. Here we're just going to say if background counter 1 mod, and this is just a completely made up arbitrary number. So 25, if you want it to go faster, if you want it to go slower, you can play with this number and make it look right to retail. And I did kind of look at it and I was like, that's close enough, it looks good. And so that's where we're at there. So background frame 1 plus plus. And here we're going to say if background frame 1 is greater than 1. There are only 2 frames, so if it's greater than 1, it is out of bounds. And so we're just going to set it back to 0. Okay, perfect. So here, these I guess 8 or so lines are going to be the same for background counter 2. So just change all the 1s to 2s here, and all the 1s to 3s down here. Now the only thing we need to change at this point is this number right here. So this, we want to change them to different speeds, and so we'll just say that this one's 32 and this one is going to be 37. All right. Okay, and so now what we want to do is we want to draw the actual stage. Okay, so here we're just going to say ctx.drawImage, and we're going to say stage 1, and we're going to start it at 0, 0. So basically it's going to cover the screen, and it's going to have a width of 512 and a height of 224. And so this is from the source image, this is how big it is. And so it's going to map perfectly because we're going to map it at the same coordinates with the same width and height. Okay. All right, so perfect. And then what we want to do is we want to change some logic. So right here, we're changing the frames. And so if this frame is 1 or 0, we want to draw it differently on the screen. So if the background frame is equal to 0, and I'm just going to copy this since we've already. So I'm going to have 3 things. There are 3 things that change for the first frame. And so 3 areas of that image. And if we looked at it, let me just go ahead and pull it up. Open with, and then we'll use GIMP. It's just opening up. Give it 1 second. Just wanted to show exactly what the changes are. Okay, so this is basically for the frame 1. And so basically the thing is there are 3 different parts. Okay, so there's this part right here, there's this part right here, and then there's this arm right here. And so this actually changed these 3 parts. They're separated in 3 parts because if you look, we actually have to slide this dude down because there is a 1 pixel border that's separating the top from the bottom. So we actually have to slide it down. in those different, let me go ahead and pause this and turn off my outdoor heater. And so we just have to slide it down, okay? And so that's why it's separated into 3 different parts. And if you really cared, you come over here and say, well, why is it starting at such and such? And you could just figure out which pixels map to which part of the image, and you would understand, what's going on with these numbers right here, okay? But we haven't changed these numbers. These are just the starting stage. Let's get to that and go ahead and change that, okay? So this is going to be 19, 401, and it's going to have a width of 44, 61, and we're going to draw it at 100, 120, and these are pretty much always going to stay the same, 41, 44, and 61. Okay, and so this is going to be 32, 376, 6, 23, and this is going to be drawn at 112, 98, 6, and 23. Okay, and then coming down here to the last one, it's going to be 39, 367, and we're going to draw with 18 width, 39 height, and we're going to draw 2 on our actual screen at pixel 118, 90, and remember these stay the same. This is going to be 18 and 39. Okay, so let's go ahead and copy this, and this is just going to be an else if background frame is 1. And if that's the case, let's see here. So this looks like it stays the same. 376, 112, 98. And the one thing that changes is going to be down here. So this is going to be 105, 367, 1839, 118, 90. Okay, so this is the one number that changed here. Okay, and so we're going to do that same thing with background image 2. So I'm just going to copy this. And so this is going to be background frame 2. Here we only have one part of the image that actually changes. And so this is going to be 140. Okay, so 140 right here. 392. 96, 70, 250, 110, 96, 70. This pretty much stays the same with only just minor number 2 or 2 changing. And so this is going to be 243 right here. And everything else stays the same. Okay? And then we have one last thing for background frame 3. And this is going to be 347 here. 384. 79, 78. And I know I do a lot of the work for you by looking at the pixel values and figuring out exactly where things go. but I encourage you to double check my work. Because eventually we're going to, this tutorial series is going to be done, you know, however long that takes, it's going to be done, and you may have other stages you want to add. So you would want to go back and check to see, well, hey, you know, why is this value 347 and 384? So you'd go to the original sprite sheet and check to see where this value starts. Okay, so you check this pixel and go 79 width and 78 height and see what part of the image that is, and you'd pretty much see why we are doing the things we are doing here. And so that's what I would do. Okay, so we have this. We now have this function called draw background. Now we would probably need to generalize this and have like basically a switch statement that figures out what stage you're on and then switches to the appropriate stage. But right now it is only drawing a single background. In fact, I don't want to draw it there. I probably want to draw it before the players, because what would happen is you draw the players and then down here you draw the background and you can't see the players. Okay, so that's an issue. So you always want to draw from the furthest objects in the rear of the image up to the focus of the image, which would probably be your players. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what this does. I do not keep on meaning to show that desktop. Okay, and so here we see that we now have our image. So job well done there. Let's go ahead and so one thing I want to mention here is eventually if you really want to see the parallax kind of image handling that was in the original, you can see my other Street Fighter tutorial that I meant to make in the full game. I'm actually redoing that whole tutorial series in this tutorial series, but that first one actually shows the parallax effects very well, whereas this one we're not doing that at all initially. Okay, we're trying to get to some of the meat of the project, but I kind of want to make it kind of pretty as we're going through some of these meaty type parts of the game. Okay, so that's why we're just doing this background image right here. Okay, so definitely check that first tutorial series out if you have not already done so. And so what we want to do now is add some sounds. Okay, so we need some background visuals, we need some sounds, and it's going to kind of you know, make the game feel a little bit more complete, even though we still have a lot to do with it. Okay, so actually right here under our images, I like to keep my my images and audios pretty close together. And so I'm just going to say let sound equal new audio. Okay, and so we're just going to keep this just like this. We're not going to define a source yet. And so down here, let's see here. We're actually going to create a new variable as well, okay? And it doesn't really matter where. I'm just going to define it right here. We're just going to say let play background music now, okay? Equal to false. And we're going to talk about why we're doing this, but this is eventually going to be changed, and this whole variable is going to be eliminated. But right now we're just going to say play background music now equal to false. So when we start the game, we're not going to start playing the background music because it actually can't. Okay, so when you create a JavaScript game and you have not interacted with the actual canvas, it will not play sounds until you interact with the canvas. And if you try to play it and then interact, you may not actually hear any sound anyways. So you want to have a flag that says, well, have you interacted yet? And once you interact, then you start playing that sound. Okay? And so we're going to create two two new functions here. And we can just do it right here. And so here we're just going to say function, play sound. And this is going to take in a source. And if you've seen any of my other tutorials, I do this for pretty much every single game. And this is just going to create a new audio variable type. And here we're just going to say sound2.volume is equal to 1.0. That's full volume right there. And then we're going to say sound2.src is equal to source. And then we're going to say sound2.play. Okay, perfect. So this is play sound, and this is going to play our little audio effects for punching and kicking and stuff like that. And so here, I'm going to just copy that because this is going to be very similar. And then this is going to be play background music. Okay. And here, we're just going to get rid of this because we actually need this to be pointing to our sound that we created up top. Okay, so we have sound, and here we're going to say sound.pause. And I don't actually remember why I put that, so maybe we'll comment this out, see what it does. But I do know why I did this. So the background sound kind of drowns out any kind of special effects sounds that we have for punching or whatever, and so that's why we set this at half volume. Now you're free to just like anything else, play around with this to see how you like it. Maybe you like them both at full volume, and that is perfectly fine. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're just going to add all the play sounds that we need to. So somewhere down here, this is going to be in draw projectiles, I'm pretty sure. And so right after, so this means that we have hit a target, okay? And if we have hit a target, we want to play a hit sound, okay? Now, so right after splice, what we're going to do is we're just going to play that sound, okay? So here, if you go into your sounds folder, move hits, and then this is the actual name of the file right here, okay? And so explore that sounds folder. It has some pretty cool stuff in it, all the sounds for the game, and we will eventually implement all of those. Okay, and so here what we want to do now is we want to play the other sound. Okay, so here, down here, so if we hit again, we're going to do the same thing. Okay, so we're going to play the sound, and it's going to be a strong hit. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we want to go down to, let's see here, not key down handler, probably we want to go to controls. Okay, so in controls, this is right here. So if they have punched, then what we want to do is we want to say, well, what kind of sound should we make? All right. And so right here on 901, what we're going to do is, now I'm just copying and pasting, but we're just going to see if it is a low kick. Ooh. So if it is a low punch, okay, because right here we're dealing with punches. So if it's a low punch, we're going to play light attack. Else, it's a medium punch, and we're going to play medium attack. Okay, and so we can go ahead and copy this. And so down here in low kick, medium kick, 938, we're just going to paste that in and put a K there. All right, perfect. Okay, and then here in high punch, there are actually two hard attacks. Okay, and I honestly do not know the difference, even though I used to play Street Fighter 2 all the time. And so I just created a little randomization that says, well, hey, you know, we might play hard attack 1 once or hard attack 2 some other random time. So for that, we're going to create some kind of random variable that says, well, let's randomize this, okay? And so for high punch, we're going to do this, and we're going to get a random number between 0 and 1. So this is going to floor it, and so it's going to be 0 or 1. So if chance is equal to 0, we're going to play this sound. If it's equal to 1, we're going to play that sound. And I'm going to go ahead and copy this because we're going to do the same thing with high kick. All right, perfect. And so the only other thing that we have left to do is the Hadoken, okay? And that's going to be under our fireball. Okay, so right here, we have shot a fireball and we want to hear that shot. Okay, so here we're just going to come under the fireball and we're going to play that sound. Okay, and so let's go ahead and see what kind of errors this does, or maybe it's no errors at all. Okay, I think I've muted this. No. So I'm not getting any sound here. Okay, so I think there's one other thing that we actually need to add because we're not really doing anything with the background sound. And so we need to actually fix that. Okay, so one thing is I don't think we actually did anything for, let's see here. Okay, so let's go ahead and pull this up. And what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, so I know what we need to do. So we need to do some kind of interaction with the canvas or our application in general. And so what we're going to do is inside of key down handler. So right here, so we're going to open up our key down handler, and right at the end, we're just going to set play background music now equal to true. Now we're going to fix this, okay? Once we add the menu and the intro screen, we won't have to worry about this anymore, and it will look great. So we're just going to do this for now. This is temporary fix. And so once we interact with it, we're going to come down here to our draw function. Okay. And inside of our draw function, we're going to say, well, hey, if play background music now. So if that's true, we're going to say play background music, and we're going to pass in a background music string, okay? Because the background music changes. And so what we want to do now is define this background music string, okay? And so let's go ahead and define that. And so up here, we want to actually define it. I didn't even define it, so that's on me. So we're just going to say we're just going to start it off with the actual level. And so with the level sound that it should be on. Okay, so here we're just going to define background music string to equal the guile level music. Okay, and then later on, as we change levels, as you go to, you beat, let's say you beat this person on this level and you go to the next level, then this string will just change and it will actually cause the background music function to update. Well, we would have to call it, but we would then update this background music with this string. Okay. And so let's go ahead and see if this actually produces what we want. Am I getting any errors? Yes, I'm getting a lot, so that's a good thing. The play request was interrupted by a call to pause. I don't even know why I put that in there. So let's go ahead and comment that out. Let's see what kind of errors we're getting here. The play request was interrupted by a new load request. Okay, so now we're getting to the meat of it. And so here we're just going to say, we're going to create a new variable, and we're going to say change music. And this is going to be equal to true, because what's happening, all right? And so if we go down here and if we really think about it, this is always equal to true now. Okay, so we've set play background music. And so what we could do here, and we could actually get rid of that, what I just said, but actually we want to keep that there, because we want this to always play if it, here, what we're going to do is say, let's see here, what are we going to say here? What we're going to do is we're going to say, and change music, okay? And then what we're going to do here is we're going to set change music equal to false. Okay, so this starts the song out, and the song doesn't just magically stop when we're no longer calling this if statement. In fact, it continues to play. So here we want to just start it once, and then we want to make it so that we no longer call it again, which is what this does here. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what that does for us. I'm thinking that it's going to do some good things. Just to make sure. All right. We got some punches. We got some kicks. Okay. I'm pretty happy with that. We've accomplished everything we set out to do. And let's see here. It was not a very long video, but stay tuned for for the next one. In the next one, I'm not quite sure what. I don't have a set tutorial already set up, but we have a lot of material to go off of. So I'm thinking that we may go ahead and add our health bars and stuff like that, and maybe even just the whole start menu, so we're not using this stupid workaround with this play background music variable. So I think that's where we're going. Maybe we add it so that Chun-Li walks towards us, and we actually have collision with our kicks and punches. We have a lot of stuff to do. And so we just have a lot of tutorials left to go in this series. So I hope you're pumped up about it. And, I'm super pumped about this, and I'm looking forward to finishing this series out. All right. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.